Welcome to the video. Why I stopped composting, and you may want to, too. While composting is often hailed as an environmentally friendly practice, there are several reasons why it might not be as beneficial as you think. In this video, we'll explore the surprising carbon footprint of home composting, the potential for attracting pests, and legal issues that may surprise you. Join me as we dive into the challenges of composting, from health risks to the high costs of specialized equipment, and discover better alternatives for reducing food waste effectively. 1. The surprising carbon footprint of home composting. Many people believe composting is always better for the environment, but recent studies from 2024 have shown that backyard composting can actually release significant amounts of methane and nitrous oxide, two potent greenhouse gases. According to a 2023 report by the Environmental Protection Agency, improper compost management at home can result in up to 4 times more methane emissions than industrial composting facilities, which are carefully monitored. The problem often arises because most backyard piles don't get hot enough to allow for complete aerobic decomposition. When oxygen is lacking, rotting food produces methane instead of breaking down cleanly. Even well-meaning composters may not turn their piles often enough or control moisture levels effectively. This means that the carbon footprint of a backyard compost pile can sometimes outweigh the benefits, especially in urban or suburban environments. 2. Attracting unwanted pests and neighborhood complaints. It wasn't long before I noticed raccoons, rats, and even the occasional opossum making regular visits to the compost bin. A 2024 survey by the National Pest Management Association found that nearly 30% of homeowners who compost report increased sightings of rodents and other pests in their yards. Food scraps like bread, fruit, and vegetable peels are magnets for animals, especially when compost bins aren't sealed tightly or overfilled. In my neighborhood, this became a point of tension. Neighbors began to complain about the smell and the sudden appearance of raccoons. Some cities have started to regulate or even ban outdoor composting due to these issues, citing public health concerns and the risk of attracting disease-carrying animals. This made me wonder if my eco-friendly hobby was really helping the community at all. 3. Composting isn't always legal, and fines are getting steeper. One shock came when I learned my city had passed stricter rules in 2023 about outdoor composting. According to recent municipal guidelines in several major U.S. cities, compost piles must be contained, odor-free, and no larger than a certain size. Violations can result in fines ranging from $100 to $500. The city of San Francisco, for example, launched a crackdown on unregulated compost bins in 2024 after a spike in complaints. Many homeowners, myself included, discovered we were unknowingly breaking local ordinances simply by tossing scraps into a backyard pile. The cost and hassle of complying with these regulations, buying special bins, keeping detailed logs, and attending city workshops, became too much to handle. I realized that a simple act of waste reduction had turned into a bureaucratic headache. 4. Time commitment and daily hassle. Composting is often advertised as easy, but the reality is much different. According to a 2023 study by the University of California, home composters spend an average of 30 minutes per week turning, watering, and troubleshooting their piles. Over the course of a year, that adds up to more than 25 hours, almost 3 full workdays. Between work, family, and other responsibilities, finding time to keep up with composting became a real challenge. If I forgot to turn the pile or add enough browns, like leaves and cardboard, the compost would start to smell or turn slimy. For many busy people, the daily hassle of separating scraps, lugging them outside, and maintaining the perfect greens to browns ratio simply isn't worth the effort. 5. Contamination problems. When good intentions backfire, even with the best intentions, it's easy to accidentally contaminate your compost. A 2023 Yale Environment Review highlighted that nearly 40% of home composters unknowingly introduce plastics, chemicals, or diseased plant material into their piles. Items like stickers on produce, plastic tea bags, and pesticide-laden lawn clippings can ruin an entire batch, making the compost unsafe for gardens. Once, I discovered a clump of moldy bread with a plastic wrapper still attached, a mistake that could have introduced microplastics to my soil. Contaminated compost can harm plants, pollute groundwater, and negate the environmental benefits you hope to achieve. This made me question whether home composting was actually as green as it seemed. 6. Inconsistent results and stinky surprises. One of the most frustrating experiences was opening the compost bin to find a soggy, foul-smelling mess instead of rich, earthy soil. According to a 2024 report from the American Horticultural Society, over 50% of home composters experience compost failure, at least once due to improper moisture, lack of aeration, or the wrong ingredient balance. When compost goes wrong, it can attract flies, create noxious odors, and even spread harmful bacteria. There were times when I had to throw out entire batches because they never broke down properly. This inconsistency meant I couldn't rely on my compost for gardening, and sometimes I felt like I was just moving food waste from one pile to another without any real benefit. 7. Municipal composting. A better alternative. Many cities now offer curbside compost collection, and the data shows these programs are often more effective and environmentally friendly than home composting. In 2024, the city of Seattle reported that its industrial composting program diverted over 100,000 tons of organic waste from landfills while maintaining strict controls on emissions and contamination. These facilities use high temperatures and controlled conditions to break down waste quickly and safely, minimizing greenhouse gas releases. By participating in municipal composting, I found I could still keep food scraps out of landfills without the hassle and risks of a backyard pile. Plus, the finished compost is tested for safety and quality before it's used in public parks or sold to gardeners. 8. Not all food waste should go in the compost. Many people don't realize that items like meat, dairy, and oily foods shouldn't be composted at home because they attract pests and create odors. The Environmental Protection Agency's 2023 guidelines recommend keeping these materials out of backyard compost, but industrial facilities can process them safely. In my experience, separating compostable and non-compostable scraps every day became confusing and time-consuming. Sometimes, whole bags of food waste ended up in the trash simply because I wasn't sure what to do with them. This constant sorting led to frustration and made the whole process feel more complicated than it was worth. 9. Health risks and allergen exposure. Turning a compost pile releases spores, mold, and bacteria into the air, which can be a concern for people with allergies or respiratory conditions. A 2023 study by the American Lung Association found that 15% of home composters experience increased allergy symptoms or respiratory irritation, especially during warm, humid months. I started noticing more sneezing and itchy eyes every time I worked with the compost. For families with young children or elderly members, the risk can be even greater. This made me reevaluate whether composting at home was the healthiest choice for everyone in my household. 10. Better ways to reduce food waste. While composting is one way to keep food waste out of landfills, there are other, more effective strategies. A 2024 report by the National Resources Defense Council found that reducing food waste at the source, by meal planning, proper storage, and donating excess food, has a bigger environmental impact than composting. I started focusing on buying only what I needed, using leftovers creatively, and sharing extra produce with neighbors. These changes cut my food waste by over 50% in just a few months, with much less hassle than composting. It turns out that the best solution might be preventing waste in the first place, rather than just managing it after the fact. 11. The high cost of specialized composting equipment. Modern composting often means investing in bins, tumblers, aerators, and even kitchen scrap processors. In 2023, the average cost of a high-quality compost tumbler rose to over $150, according to Consumer Reports. Add in the price of biodegradable liners, odor filters, and specialized tools, and the cost quickly adds up. For renters or those with limited outdoor space, it's hard to justify the expense. I realized I was spending more money on composting gear than I was saving on fertilizer or waste bills. For many people, these hidden costs can be a big barrier to getting started or sticking with the habit.